Still single at 35? That's rough spending Easter alone, my sister said loudly so everyone could hear. I set my glass down and said, actually, I'm not single for a few months. They were shocked when I told them that my husband is. So my sister told me I was rough for being single at 35. She said it at Easter dinner. In front of everyone. Loud enough that my uncle's hearing aid probably picked it up from 2 rooms away. And honestly, I'd been waiting for it. Not because I'm some kind of psychic, but because Kristen has made my love life her favorite hobby for about 12 years now. Every holiday, every birthday, every single family gathering, she finds a way to remind everyone that little Jolene can't seem to lock one down. Her words, not mine. But this Easter was different. This Easter I had a secret. And let me tell you, keeping that secret while she ran her mouth was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than my divorce at 28. Harder than moving back to our hometown with 2 suitcases and a cat who hates car rides. Because what Kristen didn't know, what nobody at that table knew except Grandma Dot, was that I had been married for 3 months. 3 whole months. To a man that, honestly, if I told you who he was in our town, your jaw would hit the floor just like theirs eventually did. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to that table. Picture it. My mom Linda's house, same dining room we've eaten in since I was 6. The fancy china that only comes out for Easter and Christmas. The deviled eggs that nobody actually likes but mom makes every year because it's tradition. My dad Ray is at the head of the table doing his usual thing, which is pretending he doesn't hear anything controversial. My sister Kristen is across from me, sitting next to her husband Todd who, bless his heart, always looks like he's one of Kristen's comments away from faking his own death. And their 2 kids are at the little table in the kitchen being louder than any of the adults. So we're passing the ham around and Kristen starts. She doesn't even warm up to it. No build-up, no subtlety. She just looks at me, looks at the empty chair next to me and goes, still single at 35? That's rough. Spending Easter alone. She didn't whisper it. She announced it. Like she was calling bingo numbers. And here's the thing about Kristen, do you know someone like this? Someone who disguises cruelty as concern? Because that's her specialty. She'll rip you apart and then say, I'm just worried about you. She's been doing it to me since high school. When I didn't get asked to prom, she told the whole family at dinner. When my marriage fell apart, she brought it up at Thanksgiving. Not to comfort me. To perform. Because Kristen needs everyone to see that she's the one who made it. She married Todd right out of college, had 2 kids by 30, lives in a nice house. And I'm the mess. I'm the cautionary tale. That's the role she assigned me and she never lets me forget it. So she says this and the whole table goes quiet. You know that silence? The one where everyone suddenly becomes very interested in their green beans? Yeah. That one. My mom Linda does what she always does, she changes the subject. Ray, can you pass the rolls? My dad passes the rolls like the house is on fire and the rolls are the exit. Todd is staring at his plate like it contains the meaning of life. And normally I would just take it. I'd smile, maybe make some self-deprecating joke and move on. I've been doing that for years. Swallowing it. Pretending it didn't sting. Going home and crying in my car before I even pulled out of the driveway. You guys, I have literally perfected the art of falling apart in a Honda Civic. But not this time. This time I set my glass down, very calmly, very slowly, and I looked at Kristen and I said, actually, I haven't been single for a few months now. And I swear the room shifted. Like the air changed. Kristen's fork literally stopped halfway to her mouth. Todd looked up from his plate for the first time in probably 3 Easters. My mom's eyes went wide. Even my dad who has perfected the art of selective deafness, turned his head. Kristen recovered first because of course she did. She laughed. Not a real laugh. That fake one she does when she's caught off guard and needs to regain control. Oh really? A boyfriend? It's cute. How long until this one disappears? Can you believe that? Can you actually believe she said that? And I just smiled. I smiled the kind of smile that I'd been rehearsing in my bathroom mirror for weeks. Because I knew this moment was coming. Grandma Dot knew too. She was at the other end of the table sipping her wine, watching me with this little sparkle in her eye. Grandma Dot is 81 years old and she is the only person in my family who has never once made me feel small. She's the one who told me years ago, Jolene, the people who talk the most about your life are the ones doing the least with their own. I carry that with me everywhere. So I looked at Kristen and I said, he's not a boyfriend actually. He's my husband. We got married 3 months ago. Dead. Silence. I mean dead. I could hear the kids in the kitchen arguing over a crayon. That's how quiet it was. Kristen's face went through about 7 different emotions in 3 seconds. Confusion. Anger. Definitely anger. And then this weird smile that didn't reach her eyes. You're joking, she said. I'm not. You got married and didn't tell anyone? I told Grandma. Every head turned to Grandma. And Grandma, my beautiful savage 81-year-old grandmother, just raised her wine glass and said, "It was a lovely ceremony." I wish you could have seen Kristen's face. I genuinely wish I had recorded it. Because for the first time in maybe my entire adult life, Kristen had nothing to say. Her mouth was open but no words were coming out. Todd was looking at her like he was watching a car crash in slow motion. My mom was the first to speak. "Jolene, who did you marry?" And that's when I realized, this was the moment. The one I'd been thinking about for months. Because the answer to that question was going to change everything. Not just Easter dinner. Everything. Do you want to know what I said? Do you want to know who I married? Because when I tell you who this man is, you're going to understand why I kept it secret. Why Grandma helped me keep it secret. And why Kristen's reaction went from shock to something much, much worse. I took a breath. I looked around the table at every single face staring at me. And I said his name. But honestly, before I tell you who he is, I need to back up. I need to tell you how I even met this man. Because that story starts in the most embarrassing way possible. And if I'm going to share this, I'm sharing all of it. The humiliation, the luck, the moment I almost ruined everything. All of it. So what do you think? Was I wrong for keeping my marriage a secret from my own family? Or after everything Kristen put me through, would you have done the same thing? Because honestly, some days I still go back and forth on it. But Grandma told me something when I called her the night before Easter. She said, "Baby, you don't owe anyone your joy before you're ready to share it." And that woman has never steered me wrong. Okay, so let me take you back to 7 months before that Easter dinner. Because that's when everything started to change, and trust me, the way I met my husband is a story in itself. You're going to want to hear this. So 7 months before that Easter dinner, I was at the lowest point I'd been in a long time. And not cute movie low where the girl eats ice cream and finds herself. I mean double shifts at the veterinary clinic, living in a studio apartment above a laundromat that smelled like dryer sheets and someone else's socks. And my social life was me and my cat Peanut watching cooking shows on Friday nights. Peanut judged me. I could feel it. And honestly, I wasn't even sad about being single. After my divorce from my ex Marcus, I actually liked being alone. Marcus wasn't a bad guy, but he thought emotional support meant saying, "That sucks," and turning on ESPN. So when we split, I grieved the marriage but not the man. What wore me down wasn't being single. It was Kristen constantly reminding me that I was. She texted me articles like "Freezing Your Eggs," what every woman over 30 should know. She once tagged me in a Facebook post about a woman who married herself. Tagged me, publicly, with a heart emoji like she was being supportive. My coworker Brenda saw it and asked if I was okay. Brenda, who eats tuna at her desk and talks to her plants, even she felt sorry for me. So in September Grandma calls me. And when Grandma calls, you answer because that woman doesn't do small talk. "Jolene, I need you to drive me to my eye appointment Thursday. Your mother's busy and I don't trust those rideshare apps." Last time the driver had the music so loud I thought I was being kidnapped to a nightclub. So I said yes. I always said yes to Grandma. Now here's where it gets ridiculous. Because life is ridiculous sometimes, right? I pick her up and she's dressed like she's going to church. Full outfit. Earrings. Lipstick. For an eye appointment. Should have known right then. She starts giving me directions and suddenly we are nowhere near Dr. Patterson's office. We're driving past the edge of town toward the newer developments. Big houses behind gates I'd never had a reason to visit. "Grandma, where is this appointment?" They moved offices. Keep driving. We pull up to this gorgeous restored farmhouse. White columns, wraparound porch, horses in the distance. And a sign that says Winslow Animal Rescue and Rehabilitation Center. "Grandma, this is not an eye doctor." "Oh, would you look at that? Well, since we're here, I heard they need a volunteer vet." You guys. My 81-year-old grandmother catfished me with a fake eye appointment. Do you think she was wrong for that? Because honestly, that woman is a criminal mastermind in orthopedic shoes. We walk in and this tall redhead named Patrice greets us. He ran the place. "Dorothy, so glad you called. And this must be your granddaughter." Told. She called ahead. The whole thing was planned. Grandma just shrugged. "You love animals. These animals need help. It's called synergy, Jolene." Synergy. Where did she even learn that word? Patrice explained the facility was funded privately by the property owner, who started it after his wife passed away. "He's around here somewhere. Probably in the barn." And right then a voice behind me. "Patrice, the farrier called." "Oh, sorry. Didn't realize we had visitors." I turned around. And there was Cal. Now let me describe Cal because you're probably picturing the wrong thing. He wasn't some polished suit-wearing rich guy. He was standing there in muddy boots, a ripped flannel shirt with hay in his hair. He looked like a very handsome scarecrow who wandered off his field. 6'1", brown eyes, salt and pepper at the temples even though he was only 38. And when he smiled, I'm not going to be dramatic about a smile. But I forgot what I was saying. I'm Jolene, I said. Like an absolute poet. Cal. He shook my hand and a piece of hay fell from his hair onto my shoe. We both just stared at it. Grandma whispered, not quietly, he's single. I wanted to dissolve into the floor. But Cal laughed. Real laugh. Your grandmother's been here 3 times this month. I think she's been scouting. 3 times and she never mentioned it. Not once. Here's what I didn't know then. Cal's last name, which I won't share for obvious reasons, is one of the most well-known in our area. His family basically built half the town. The developments, the shopping center, the medical plaza. His father started a real estate and land development company, and when he passed, Cal inherited everything. But Cal hated the business side. He kept it running because people depended on those jobs, but his heart was in the rescue center. He was the wealthiest man in the county, standing in a barn with hay in his hair. I didn't know any of this that first day. To me, he was just a nice guy in a ripped flannel who liked horses. I started volunteering. Every Thursday. Then Thursdays and Saturdays. Then Wednesdays too, because a dog named Sergeant had an infected paw and I was worried about him. I was not there for Sergeant. Coffee after shifts turned into lunch, turned into dinner, turned into long walks where we talked until sunset. He asked real questions. Not what do you do, but what makes you happy, and what do you want your life to look like? Nobody had ever asked me those things. I told him about Kristen. The years of comments, the humiliations. And Cal said, she sounds like someone who's afraid that if she stops pointing at you, people will start looking at her. That one sentence hit me so hard I almost cried right there on the trail next to a goat named Barbara. Would you have fallen for him? I didn't stand a chance. By December, inseparable. By January he proposed, in the barn. On a Tuesday. While I was vaccinating a horse named Chester. He said, I don't want to wait anymore. Marry me. We got married 2 weeks later. Just us, Grandma. Patrice as a witness and a judge. Small and perfect. And I didn't tell my family. I know that sounds terrible. But I knew what would happen. Mom would cry and make it about herself. Dad would ask what Cal does before asking if I was happy. And Kristen would find the one crack and pry until everything fell apart. She did it with my engagement to Marcus. Told me at my own engagement party she gave it 2 years. So I told only Grandma. And she kept that secret like a matter of national security. Went to Christmas dinner, watched Kristen joke about me adopting cats instead of having children and didn't say one word. Just sipped her wine and winked at me. 81 and cooler than I'll ever be. Which brings us back to Easter. Back to me saying Cal's first name. My mom blinked. Cal who? Grandma said, you know exactly which Cal, Linda. I watched it hit my mother's face. Then my dad's. Then Todd's. Everyone in our town knows that name. Kristen was last. And when she got it her face went white. Paper white. You married? No. You're lying. I'm not lying, Kristen. There's no way. There is absolutely no way that you. She couldn't finish. Because what she wanted to say was, there's no way someone like you could end up with someone like him. And she knew how that would sound out loud. And do you want to know what she did after that dinner? Because what Kristen pulled in the weeks that followed showed me exactly who she was in a way that 12 years of insults never did. She went after Cal's money. Oh yes, she went there. And what Cal said to her face. I will never ever forget it. But I'll tell you about that very soon. Because trust me, you're going to want to hear this one. Are you with me? Would you have told them sooner, or did I get the timing right? Because honestly, sometimes I still wonder. But then I remember Kristen's face at that table and I think, yeah, it was perfect. So after Easter dinner, I drove home and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Light. Like someone had taken a bag of rocks off my shoulders that I didn't even realize I'd been carrying. Cal was waiting for me on the porch with Dolores, the one-eyed cat, in his lap, and he just looked at me and said, how'd it go? And I laughed. I laughed so hard I scared Dolores off his lap and she gave me that look. You know, the one cats give you when they want you to know you're beneath them. I said, it went exactly like we thought it would. He just smiled and handed me a cup of tea. That's Cal. No drama. No, I told you so. Just tea. But the peace lasted about 48 hours. Because that's how long it took Kristen to go from shock to scheming. It started with a text. Not to me. Hell. She somehow got his number. I still don't know how. I suspect my mother. And she texted him directly. I only know because Cal showed me, and when I read it my blood pressure probably hit numbers that would concern a doctor. She wrote, and I'm paraphrasing because I deleted it from my memory for my own health, something like, Hi Cal, this is Jolene's sister Kristen. I just wanted to reach out and welcome you to the family properly. Todd and I would love to have you both over for dinner so we can get to know you. Sounds nice, right? Sounds harmless. It was not harmless. Because 2 days after that text she sent another one. This time asking if Cal knew of any investment opportunities, because Todd had been looking to expand. Todd, who has worked at the same insurance company for 11 years and whose biggest investment decision last year was whether to get the extended warranty on a lawnmower. That Todd was suddenly looking to expand. Cal showed me the message and raised an eyebrow. Just one eyebrow. He didn't even have to say anything. She's testing the water, I said. She's not testing it, Cal said. She jumped in. And he was right. Because over the next 3 weeks, Kristen launched what I can only describe as a full campaign. She called my mom and suddenly started saying nice things about me. Nice things. Linda called me crying saying, Kristen says she's so happy for you, honey. Kristen had not said a genuinely kind thing about me since approximately 2011. She invited us to her kids' school play. She sent me a birthday card in the mail and it wasn't even close to my birthday. My birthday is in August and this was April. She was so eager she couldn't even Google when I was born. Do you see what she was doing? Have you ever watched someone completely rewrite history in real time? Because that's what Kristen was attempting. She was trying to erase 12 years of cruelty in 3 weeks so she could get close to Cal and his money. And here's the part that really got me: she started showing up at the rescue center. Just popping by. Kristen, who once called my job playing with strays, was suddenly fascinated by animal rehabilitation. She brought her kids. She brought Todd, who looked like he'd rather be literally anywhere else. He brought muffins. Store-bought muffins that she put in a basket to make them look homemade, which Patrice immediately clocked because Patrice doesn't miss anything. One day she cornered Cal in the barn, and I only heard about this later, and asked him if he'd consider partnering with Todd on a real estate development project. Some land on the north side of town. She had a whole pitch ready. Todd's name on it but Kristen's fingerprints all over it. Cal told me about it that night while we were feeding the horses. And I was furious. I was shaking. Because it's one thing to insult me for 12 years. That I can survive. But trying to use my husband? Trying to worm her way into my marriage for money? That crossed a line I didn't even know I had. What did you say to her? I asked. And Cal, calm, steady, hay in his hair Cal, said, I told her I'd think about it. You what? I told her I'd think about it. Because I wanted to talk to you first. This is your family. Your call. Do you understand why I married this man? In what world does a person with that kind of money and that kind of power just step back and let you lead? He could have shut her down right there. He had every right to. But he respected me enough to let me handle it. And honestly, I didn't know what to do at first. Part of me wanted to scream at Kristen. Part of me wanted to cut her off completely. And part of me, the part that Grandma raised, wanted to be smarter about it. So I called Grandma. Obviously. Grandma, Kristen is trying to get money out of Cal. Grandma was quiet for about 3 seconds. Then she said, Of course she is. What are you going to do about it? I don't know. Yes you do. You've always known. You're just afraid to do it. And she was right. He's always right. It's honestly annoying how right she is. Here's what I did. And tell me if you think this was the right move because I've gone back and forth on it 100 times. I invited the whole family to the rescue center. Everyone. Mom, Dad, Kristen, Todd, the kids, Grandma. Even my cousin Elliot, who nobody really invites anywhere but he's harmless and I needed witnesses. I told them Cal wanted to host a family barbecue so everyone could see the property and get to know him properly. Kristen was thrilled. He probably thought this was her in. She showed up in a new outfit, full makeup, practically dragging Todd by the arm. Cal gave everyone a tour. He was gracious and warm and everything you'd expect. The kids loved the animals. My dad actually smiled, which is rare enough that I should have documented it. Even my mom seemed genuinely happy, which made me feel guilty for about 5 seconds. And then, after the burgers, after the kids were playing with the goats, after everyone was relaxed and comfortable, I stood up. I want to say something, I said. Everyone looked at me. Kristen had this eager look on her face, like she expected me to announce some kind of business deal. I want to talk about why I didn't tell you I got married. The eager look disappeared. I didn't tell you because for 12 years, every time something good happened to me, someone at this table found a way to make it small. When I graduated vet school, the conversation at dinner was about Kristen's new kitchen. When my marriage ended, it became a punchline at Thanksgiving. When I was alone and struggling, I got articles about freezing my eggs and Facebook posts about women marrying themselves. Kristen's face was turning red. Todd was staring at the ground. My mom was gripping her napkin like it owed her money. I didn't hide Cal because I was ashamed. I hid him because I was protecting the only good thing that had happened to me in years from the people who have spent years making me feel like I don't deserve good things. Dead quiet. Even the goats were quiet, which if you've met goats you know is basically a miracle. And then I looked directly at Kristen. And I know about the text to Cal. I know about the investment pitch. I know about the suddenly showing up here with store-bought muffins in a homemade basket. Kristen opened her mouth. Jolene, I was just trying to. You were trying to get close to his money. The same way you've spent 12 years trying to stay above me. And I need you to hear this, Kristen, because I'm only going to say it once. It's over. The comments, the jokes, the little digs that you pretend are concern. All of it. Done. My mother started to say something, probably to smooth it over the way she always does, and Grandma, bless that woman forever, put her hand on my mom's arm and said, "Let her finish, Linda." So I finished. I love this family. I do. Even when it's hard to. But I married a man who treats me like I matter, and I will not let anyone turn that into an opportunity. Not even my own sister. And then Cal stood up. He didn't plan this. I know because I saw the look on his face. He was deciding in real time. He put his hand on my shoulder and looked at Kristen and said something so simple it basically ended the conversation. Kristen, I married your sister because she's the most genuine person I've ever met. And I've met a lot of people who only showed up after they learned my last name. Don't be one of them. Kristen didn't say a word. Not one word. He just sat there. And for the first time in my life, I saw something on her face that wasn't superiority or sarcasm or cruelty. It was shame. Real actual shame. Todd quietly gathered the kids. My mom was crying. My dad was doing that thing where he clenches his jaw and looks at the sky, which is the Ray version of being emotional. Elliot was eating his third burger, completely unbothered because Elliot lives in his own world and honestly I respect it. They left. And I thought that was it. I thought I'd finally stood up for myself and the consequence would be losing my sister for good. I was wrong. 3 weeks later I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. From Kristen. And what she wrote in that letter. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's private and also because I'll cry and I've already scared Dolores enough for one story, but she said things I never thought she'd say. She said she'd been jealous of me for years. Jealous. Of me. The sister she'd spent over a decade making feel invisible. She said that when our parents compared them to each other growing up, she was always told to be more like Jolene. Responsible, kind, hardworking. And she hated me for it. Not because I did anything wrong. Because she couldn't figure out how to be those things and so she decided to tear them down instead. He said she was sorry. Not the fake sorry, not the sorry you feel that way sorry. The real kind. The kind that costs something to write. She asked if we could start over. Not for Cal's money. Not for access. Just as sisters. I sat on my porch and cried for about 20 minutes. Cal brought me tea again because that man's solution to everything is tea and honestly it works. I called Grandma. She wrote me a letter. I know. She called me first to ask what she should say. I told her to tell the truth for once. Grandma. Behind every good thing in this story. Every single one. It took time. It didn't happen overnight. Kristen and I didn't suddenly become best friends. We had hard conversations, really hard ones. He came to therapy with me twice, which for Kristen is basically like climbing Everest in flip-flops. Todd actually turned out to be a decent guy once he wasn't being dragged into Kristen's schemes. And my mom and dad, they never directly apologized but they started showing up differently. My dad asked about the animals. My mom stopped comparing us. Small things, but after 35 years small things feel enormous. Last Christmas the whole family came to the rescue center. Grandma sat in a rocking chair on the porch with Dolores in her lap, looking like the queen of everything, which she is. The kids fed the goats. Kristen helped Patrice in the kitchen and didn't once mention anything about Cal's money or business or investments. She just asked me if I was happy. Yeah, I said. I really am. And she said, good. You deserve it. I should have said that a long time ago. And you know what? That was better than any revenge. Better than the look on her face at Easter. Better than the speech at the barbecue. My sister looking me in the eye, telling me I deserve to be happy. 12 years of damage and it started healing with one honest letter and a whole lot of awkward conversations. Cal and I are still at the farmhouse. Still running the rescue center. Peanut the cat has reluctantly accepted Dolores as a roommate, though they mostly ignore each other, which I'm told is Cat 4 best friends. Grandma comes over every Sunday. She still dresses like she's going to church even when she's just coming to feed goats. She still calls things synergy. She is still the greatest person I have ever known. So that's my story. The sister who tried to break me ended up being the one who finally learned how to love me right. And the grandmother who tricked me into driving to a fake eye appointment ended up leading me to the love of my life. Life is weird. Family is weirder. But sometimes, not always but sometimes, it works out. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think? Did I handle it the right way or would you have done something differently? I know everyone's family is complicated and I know some of you are going through your own version of this right now. So tell me in the comments. I want to hear your stories too. And if you like this one, leave a like so I know. It means more than you think. And if something didn't sit right with you, that's okay too. Tell me. I'd rather hear the truth than nothing at all. That's kind of the whole point of this story, isn't it? Thank you for listening. Seriously. Thank you for sticking around through all 3 parts and caring about some woman named Jolene and her meddling grandmother and a one-eyed cat named Dolores. It means a lot. Take care of yourselves. And call your grandma. Trust me on that one.